It's 5 o'clock. I will call the Public Works meeting to order. I'll start out with the roll call. Alder Menzer. Here. Alder Bellinger. Here. Alder Borse. Here. Alder Rust. Present. And Alder Decker is here also. We will start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We'll start out with the approval of minutes from our last Public Works meeting. Okay, Alder Rust approved, seconded by Alder Borse. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Those are approved. We will start out with public comment. We will limit it to 3 minutes per person, and it's going to be something on the agenda. Does anyone wish to speak tonight? Go ahead, Lisa.
I'm Lisa Salgado, 4th Street. Before the city commits to spending $3.3 million on engineers for the marina, we deserve one basic answer. Will this marina actually pay for itself, or will taxpayers again be left holding the bill? The true total costs of the marina are over $50 million. Right now, there is no independent economic financial feasibility assessment proving that the marina will be financially self-sufficient, and there's proven long-term market demand for slips and transient boating. We should not be spending millions without clear data-driven evidence that this project can stand on its own financially and operationally. Do not approve another dollar for engineering or design until an independent fiscal assessment is completed and shared publicly. Let's build something of value. Let's make sure every dollar and every decision actually serves your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that should be heard? If you could state your name and your full address.
My name is Kevin Fanis. Address is 610 Broughton Drive.
Okay.
I purchased that home 25 years ago so that my elderly mother, now deceased, would have a great place to live. She picked it out because of its proximity to the marina, to its views of the lake, and those are things that I want to preserve. I want to see a world-class marina in front of me. Unfortunately, the master plan does not do that. And the people who are proposing a contract with the city tonight are going to be limited by that master plan. When initial comments were made regarding the marina, over 60% of people said they most valued the open space. They valued the views of the lake, they valued the boaters, they valued the ability to go out for a walk their dogs. The master plan doesn't do that. We're now talking about specifically 3 buildings, including a restaurant, which I don't think we need. I think the neighborhood association and the neighbors who live in that adjacent area have made it very clear by voting out their previous city councilman that this is not a plan that we favor. We don't need a restaurant. We don't need an education building. We don't need necessarily 3 new buildings. If you need a new administration building with some other uses, maybe you put it all in one and you build up instead of 3 buildings going out. We don't need to destroy our little community center over there. And unfortunately, I think Edgewater is going to be driven to do that. So to the extent you decide to approve something, I think you kind of change and give them some direction as to what they're going to be looking for. You're going to see, if you get the same presentation tonight that was previously given, you're going to see a slideshow about Rochester, New York, and what was done in Rochester, New York for the fast ferry, which went bankrupt shortly after it was rolled out. You're going to see Chicago's harbor. You're going to see a picture of Grant Park, formerly the largest open municipal space on the Great Lakes anywhere. Absolutely destroyed by a Smith & Associates plan that eliminated all that great blank space where you could have soccer matches and epic concerts and fireworks and everything else for something that was carved up with a bunch of, quote, stuff. All I can think of is this is quote, deja vu all over again. I don't want to go in that direction. I don't think the neighbors want to go in that direction. They've made it clear. And again, like the previous commenter, I would urge you not to approve this tonight. Take a pause, take this back to the community, let us know what we're going to do, and take some additional public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else that should be heard? Go ahead. Name and address, please.
My name is Jared Soto of 1627 Mead Avenue, Sheboygan, and I'm a young person. I am proud of Sheboygan. I love this area a lot. And whatever we do with the marina, I just want it to be something that I can be proud of, to say, hey, this is Sheboygan. This is our identity. I don't want us to be another Milwaukee. I don't want us to be another Manitowoc. I want us to be unique in our own ways. So when we do proceed with our marina, I just want that to be taken into consideration and remember what makes this city magical.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead, Eric.
My name is Eric Cotty, and I live at 134 Lake Court in Sheboygan. First, I'd like to second the gentleman before me's comments. I agree with that 100%. I was born in Sheboygan and lived here until I was about 20 years old to go to college. I spent the next nearly 30 years living elsewhere, returning periodically to visit family and friends. 4 years ago, I decided to move back. I moved back for 3 reasons: to be closer to my mom, to be closer to my friends, and to be closer to Lake Michigan. The lake helped raise me. That's right, the lake has taught me many lessons and helped shape who I am as a person. The facilities and amenities at Harbor Center Marina were a big draw for me as well in my decision to move here. After 2 years of enjoying the facilities, everything changed. When the city took over management of the marina, nearly all the amenities were eliminated. Not only did it push seasonal boaters away, it pushed transient boaters away as well. Those who just needed a slip for a night as they continue on their journey, and those who might stay for a week or a weekend. It is true that the docks are deteriorating. The marina does need a refresh. Amenities need to be brought back so that Harbor Center is once again a preferred stop for boats traveling Lake Michigan. There is also a lot of talk about the marina's inability to cover its costs. This has been true, and it is possible for marinas to be run in a way where they don't lose money year over year. The reasons for the losses year over year fall on the shoulders of city officials. Third-party marina operators have managed the marina for the city for the majority of the marina's life. I don't feel the city had great oversight on those operations for those decades. The city should have written those contracts in a way that incentivized the operators to fill more slips and break even or turn a profit. I do support the use of third-party operators, and I don't want to see Harbor Center managed directly by the city for much longer. It's my opinion that Edgewater is the best choice to manage and implement this project. It is also my opinion that Sheboygan needs to always have a nice marina. It's part of what makes this city Sheboygan. I ask that the committee tonight please approve the resolution that's on the agenda and authorize Edgewater to move forward with our marina refresh. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Peter.
Peter Mayer. I live at 1314 North 5th Street, which is on 5th and Michigan, very close to the marina. I'm also the chair of Marine Parks and Forestry Commission, and I do want to say personally, my comment is that I very much like the marina. It's a very valuable attribute of our community, but I want to read some words from Kurt Kober, who did ask to comment. And Kurt indicated that marinas, 91% of them in the United States are privately operated, not run by municipalities. That proves that marinas can be financially successful. The marine industry has gone through a quiet but significant transformation in the past decade. There's consolidation, which has created national scale operators, deep expertise, economies of scale. Boating participation has surged across all demographics, driven in part by pandemic-era lifestyle shifts. It's no longer a niche luxury sector. It's a growing, diversified economic engine. Slip fees account for only 20% of a marina's economic impact. The remaining 80% comes from storage, maintenance services, and adjacent businesses that thrive in a well-designed marina and waterfront district. Stage 1 and subsequent phases of this plan will unlock the rest of the economic engine that is marinas. Kurt shares that he owns a boat and pays about $7,000 a year in slip fees. He spends another $23,000 annually on maintenance, service, storage, and other related expenses. He's been spending those dollars in California, but we've asked him to bring those dollars to Sheboygan, and with a proper marina, he's going to do so.
Thank you. Anyone? Rebecca, go ahead.
Hi there, Rebecca Clark, 735 Fairway Drive in Sheboygan, also on the Marina Parks and Forestry Board. And after looking at this plan, which is very impressive, I'm really thankful Edgewater is here tonight. Obviously, our marina needs some love. It needs to be safe. It needs to be functioning. I think Edgewater is going to do some really good architectural plans. And for the city, I think that will allow you to maybe put some of this with the thinking cap on in your capital planning so that this stuff doesn't get so run down year after year after year. I do have concerns about the cost, so I'm hoping for support to consider retaining and repurposing the current building that we have now, including D-Land Park. I'm hoping it has some good bones, because again, with some of this environmental remediation or dredging, it could get pretty expensive. And I think they will help us with some future planning. I want the education building, just not right now. And also, only include the restaurant and an event building space if private funding is made available, not public tax dollars. We do have restaurants right now on the riverfront that if the city wants to get involved in supporting them, they're struggling. We've had some close. So instead of opening a new space, I'm hoping the marina, along with help from transportation, can get folks from the waterfront into the restaurants we already have and support them. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard? Last call. Anyone else wishing to be heard? All right, we will move on to item number 6. Resolution number 108-2526 by Alderpersons Decker and Rust, authorizing the appropriate city officials to enter into a contract for the demolition and associated site restoration of the city-owned property located at 428 Wisconsin Avenue to clear the land for future development. I believe this is for Bernie.
Good afternoon. So what we are seeking tonight is support from the Public Works Committee to move the resolution forward to complete the demolition of the former senior center at 428 Wisconsin Avenue. We've been preparing the building for some time, and this is kind of the final step. The entire site will be cleared of any improvements. Curbs will be infilled where the driveways are. It's expected that the project will wind down for the year in December, and then the contractor will come back in spring and topsoil and seed and mulch and whatnot. We put out a request for bids. Received 8 bids. High bid was $277,000. The lowest bid, meeting all of the specifications, was from C. Spiel, Vogel and Sons Excavating of Sheboygan in the amount of $97,950.
Questions from the committee? Motion made by Bellinger, seconded by Borse. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. That's approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to number 7, resolution number 109-2526 by Alderpersons Decker and Rust, authorizing the appropriate city officials to enter into a contract for architectural design, engineering, and construction administrative services regarding Harbor Center Marina and associated facilities at 821 Broughton Drive. We have the gentleman here from, if you wanted any comments, if you want to go through this, or are you going to go through this? slide? Okay, great. Is it, oh, there you go. Okay.
Okay, there we go. Thank you for having me. Mike Morphy with Edgewater Resources, principal. I'm a principal and senior engineer at Edgewater Resources, here to present on behalf of our project team. This summer, there was an RFP issued by the city, of course, for the design and implementation of portions of the master plan for Harbor Center Marina, and I'm here to go over who we are and what our scope of work looks like and what we see the schedule looking like. So a brief introduction of our team. There's a lot of names on the board here. I won't introduce each one, but a couple of key people. Greg Wykamp, my partner, landscape architect. He's the president of Edgewater Resources. He's going to lead the landscape architecture design and the community engagement portions of the project. Of course, he's experienced in Sheboygan, having completed a marina market study earlier this year. Jack Cox leads our coastal engineering group, and he's going to help support the evaluation of the wave and ice impacts on the marina. Myself, I'm going to manage the overall project, coordinate all these different folks. And then the rest of the names on the screen are going to contribute different pieces of the project, and those are the people that you're going to see here working on it. But I should mention a couple of our sub-consultants. Maffitt Loftus is going to do MEP design on the project, and they are the nation's leading firm in terms of marina electrical systems, which are very much a niche bit of engineering. And then you'll have Collins Engineers are going to help with the site design, the survey work, and that type of thing, construction administration as well. And then Rambo Group is really going to lead the environmental effort as we evaluate the existing structures and the fuel system, what exists within those buildings and what might need to be handled a different way or remediated. Of course, we don't know exactly what that is yet because those investigations haven't started. Edgewater Resources, we really specialize in coastal work and marina development. We've worked on over 400 projects throughout the earth, and there you can see kind of a sampling of them there. But really, most of our work historically has been within the Great Lakes. And on the screen here are some of the feasibility studies we've done throughout the Great Lakes, some of the built marinas that we've completed, and then recent work that's either scheduled to be completed or bidding in 2025. So a lot of work going on here. We know the Great Lakes. Some statistics since 2023. $90 million in marina construction costs or bidding since 2023, and then over $50 million in grant funding over the last 15 years. A couple of our projects that you may be familiar with. This is 31st Street Harbor in Chicago. It was completed around 2012, 2013. Of course, LEED Gold, and I got the Fabian Blue Award for a green marina for some of the green infrastructure that's a part of that facility. This was one of the first marina projects I personally worked on while at Edgewater. A couple other views of that project, some waterfront park. Of course, underneath that park, those that were here earlier, is actually a parking garage and a place where boats are stored in the winter. So it was designed with that intent. Another view of some of the park space that's out at the breakwater at that facility. This is the Port of Rochester in Rochester, New York. You've got the Genesee River there flowing into Lake Ontario. Gentleman mentioned earlier, there was a fast ferry terminal here that we were not involved in the construction of. The city had that terminal where they would take people and vehicles to Toronto and back for the weekend, for example. Well, that didn't do well and failed after a year. And I think that's the project that was referred to earlier that went bankrupt. So when we came in, we evaluated the feasibility of a marina in that location, which is what you see on the screen here. This project was completed 2015, 2016. It does have a longer-term plan for expansion if and when that's desired. This facility, I think, has somewhere around 90 to 100 slips and costed around about $20 million at the time. There's another shot of it at night. And yet another one. This is the South Haven, Michigan Maritime Museum campus. This is a project that we worked on, creating a master plan for the museum campus. We've built different buildings in phases over the years. That project is now close to full build out. There's one more pad left to build, and we anticipate that's probably going to come in the next 5 to 10 years. Couple more shots of that facility. They have mooring facilities. They have the museum that you see here. Pretty neat place to visit. Now let's talk about the Sheboygan Waterfront Master Plan and the Harbor Center Marina plans that we're responding to here. What's on the screen, I'm sure you're all familiar with. This was the Waterfront Master Plan completed in 2024, outlining a lot of different improvements in the waterfront. Different phases and a large total cost. This year, the RFP was issued for design and construction administration of the initial phase of that project. And just to list the components in total, if you look at the cost estimate that was in the Waterfront Master Plan, the construction cost alone is just under $27 million. That includes demo of some buildings, the docks, the fuel system, and portions of the hardscape, the parking and the sidewalks there. Architecture design of the marina admin building and a new fuel building, and some planning for a restaurant and event building. A new fuel system, site utilities, stormwater, potable water, fire protection, and electric, sanitary as well. And then parking lots and driveways, in the upland public space, the hardscape and the landscape. And then, of course, a new docking system, but not the floating buildings that were shown in the master plan. Just to clarify that point, this phase would include the floating dock system, but not the floating buildings. Some form of wave attenuation to address the ice issues, which have been kind of a thorn in the city's side for many years. We have some more detail on that coming up later. And then evaluating whether or not facilities for a Great Lakes excursion, a Great Lakes cruise ship would make sense here, and what would that look like? So in other words, if we were already building a pier of some sort that could accommodate a Great Lakes cruise ship, what would that look like? What would that cost? How would that affect the project? So really, 4 major principles that would guide our process here. Obviously we want to, the third one down here, we respect the time and effort that the community has put into that waterfront master plan. It sounds like there was a lot of input, a lot of effort to survey the community and to look at what's the best fit. So want to, number one, acknowledge that, but also build off of it and look at how do we need to refine that? What do we want to confirm is definitely exactly how it needs to be built? And that's really the initial focus of this study. And it's looking at the market analysis and our ICE study work to look at how to refine that master plan. Also looking at expanding access to the waterfront for everyone in the community. We recognize the marina is something everyone wants to look at. It also brings in revenue, and it's something that a lot of people will utilize, but not everybody's going to utilize it. So we want to make sure that the public can take advantage of the waterfront as well. We want to address the ice, the waves, and the sedimentation. There's some sedimentation at along the north end of the marina. And then last, but certainly not least, try to get the marina to a point where it's financially feasible and self-reliant. There was a lot of discussion about this earlier. I've heard a couple comments. Understand we want to optimize that and get it to a point where it can generate revenue. My partner Greg Wykamp's not here today, but that's really his. He's the expert at our firm in terms of looking at a marina. And we offer to take a look at that and look at different scenarios as we're going through this process. So in terms of a work plan, I've got 7 or 8 tasks outlined here. I'll briefly go over them. Obviously, if there are questions, I can come back. Task one is really initiating the project. We want to establish a steering committee, clear communications, really confirm the project goals. Is that initial phase truly what we're looking at here? We want to confirm that what the budget is and what the schedule intentions are. We think we know what some of those answers are just based on experience in other facilities, but obviously there's going to be decisions that are really pertain to specific issues here in Sheboygan. Second part is really gathering information. So it's completion of surveys, geotechnical boring so that we know what we need to design around. It's looking at the wave and ice study that was completed about 9 or 10 years ago and figuring out what we need to do to add to that and evaluate our options. Looking at the market analysis that was just completed and optimizing the slip mix so that the marina makes the most sense for the demand that exists now and what we see it being in the future. And then looking at any other missing data that we might have and trying to fill those gaps before we get into the design process. And at that point, we arrive at a really key step, and that's really making sure that we can get a consensus plan together. It's, again, we're the waterfront master plan is our base, but we want to really look at that and see what needs to be refined and come to a conclusion that here is the initial phase, here's what we're aiming for, and here's the pieces we're going to be designing. A big part of that's going to be some community and stakeholder outreach. My partner Greg will lead that part of it. And then looking at all the different things that you see here, the marine and fuel system, the couple of buildings, the public space, and access to the water again. At that point, we're hoping to be in a place where we know exactly what the plan is, what our target timeline is, which grants we may be able to apply for in the near term, and then to get all that stuff started. And we see that all occurring in the next, let's say, 4 months. Then we get into the upland and architecture design development. That's the next level of detail. What do these buildings look like? How big do they need to be? Where are they going to be? What do they look like? All that stuff. We see that taking 6 to 8 weeks, and then coming back to the city with consistent reviews to make sure they're right on target. Of course, that's going to involve some of the utility planning. Where do we have water mains? Where do we have sanitary? What kind of electric service is there now? What do we need for the future? Then we get into construction documents for the buildings and the site. That's just taking that design to the next level of detail where we are ready to bid it out to qualified contractors. Concurrently with that, we would be looking at the marina and advancing that to a 30% level of design so that we can start permitting. That's really one of the critical path items that we need to be moving towards as soon as possible. The permitting can take 3-4 months all the way up to 12 or more months, depending on how the agencies view the project. And so that's really going to guide how quickly we can implement the marina portion of the project that's actually in the water. Once we're nearing the end of that permit process, and we've heard from both the Army Corps and the Wisconsin DNR that we're probably close to getting a permit, that's when it's appropriate to start the final design work, preparation of bid documents, and to get the bidding going. Then we get into bidding, and we really see that there's at least 4 bid packages in this project. One for the building demo and remediation, if there is going to need to be any. One for the upland and the site infrastructure. That's underground utilities, sidewalks, roadways, stormwater, all that good stuff. The architecture portion, which right now we've got the Marine Administration Building and the Fuel Service Building, potentially as a single package, or maybe that's 2 different bid packages. And then the Marina and Fuel bid package, which would come a little later. And I'll get into the schedule in a second here. Lastly, part of our scope would be the construction administration. That's getting on site, making sure that things are progressing on schedule. It's reviewing shop drawings and submittals, requests for information from the contractor, testing, and all that good stuff. So in other words, making sure the design is carried through to construction. And then, as I noted earlier, we throw a big party and everybody's happy, and we try to fill some slips. So what does that look like on a schedule-wise? Up at the top there, the first little bit is really the initiation part, and that's really, let's get the information as quickly as we can, hopefully before the ice sets in and everything's covered up. Let's try to get together and come up with a consensus plan. Let's work with the community. Let's work with the leadership and the stakeholder group and try to get a consensus on our budget and our overall schedule. That's that first 4 to 6 months there. Really a push to get to that by the end of February. At that point, we start doing some of the grant applications. We look at when the deadlines for those applications are and what that funding cycle looks like. And then we start to do the design of the 3 major pieces. The first one being the buildings. Right now, we're showing the design for those buildings could get going really early in 2026. And that would mean that we could get into construction in the fall of 2026, all the way into the spring of 27. The couple arrows there indicate maybe there's some reason that we want to shift that a year back. We're ready to go on it now, but if there's a grant reason or a operations reason, there may be other reasons that we want to shift that. The third part is the site in Upland. I think we can move on that right away and get moving on it. We're going to need to get a little creative about circulation and keeping the facility open and building certain parts at certain times, but that's nothing new. And I think we've got the flexibility in these next 2.5 years to make things line up the right way. And then the marina itself at the bottom, that looks like the longest piece of it because there are some long lead time items. The marina electrical equipment has a really long lead time on it. Fabrication of floating docks has a long lead time on it. Those are big considerations. And then, of course, the permitting is going to affect how quickly we can build that. So we think realistically that we're doing permitting through most of 2026, final design near the end of 2026, bidding that in the spring of 27, and then we're building that in the winter, the fall and winter between 27 and 28. So spring of 2028 would be the goal to have the marina up and running based on what we know today. Some pieces of that are going to affect that timeline. Obviously, we want to hit priorities, want to hit budgets, and we got to look at opportunities for grant funding and other resources. We want to make sure that we reach out to the community and hear input. It sounds like there's been a lot of that over the past year, but we just want to make sure that given what we know today, what we're going to find out with the market study and the ICE analysis, we want to make sure that we're optimizing that plan based on a continuous discussion with the community. Internal review periods and permits, those are key. Those are going to affect it. And then those long lead times. We are starting to see some impacts on supply chain with the tariffs and some of the unsurety as far as which direction those are going to go. Sometimes pricing changes. Sometimes we see lead times change. So we just need to be aware of it and plan around it. And then, like I mentioned, we want to make sure that the marina can be open and that the public facilities can be open during those key use months as much as possible and work around that wherever we can. So with that, that's kind of how we see the project as of today. Keep in mind, we're new to the project the last few months preparing the proposal. It sounds like there's a long history here, but we're certainly aware of the revenue challenges. We're certainly aware of the ICE challenges, and we're prepared to jump in with you and help implement a plan that works for everybody. So thanks.
Thank you, Mike. I just want to start out with my comments a little bit on this. First of all, this is to approve a contract with Edgewater themselves. This is not to go and follow the concept plan that Smith Group put out. There are going to be changes from that concept by a lot. I'm going to tell you that right now. We've already established there's not going to be floating buildings. There's not going to be. So a lot of those things that were in that Smith Group proposal are not going to be in what you're going to be bringing things forward that are going to be much different from what that was. You're going to be bringing those things forward, and you're going to be taking community input again from the community, and we're going to be looking at other things like that. So I just want to start out the discussion on that end of it. I will then open it up to the rest of the committee. Alder Bellinger.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to have Administrator Bradley address a few questions. Specifically, how did you arrive at Edgewater? I know that, but for the public, I think that's important to know that process. And if you could just explain the funding mechanism as far as this resolution goes for the engineering and design work, as well as what you would anticipate the total cost to be, so that there isn't misinformation out there in the public as to, what things are being floated around as far as dollar figures go. So, and if in fact it has been budgeted for in the past, or is it budgeted for right now? And I would just like some background information. If you could provide that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes. So just a little kind of context on how we got to the RFP in this process. So Smith Group had done the master plan, and last year, they had a recommendation on a scope. So the initial scope that they recommended was looking at addressing the marina facilities first, and that's what is in the scope of this proposal. So we had budgeted, when we created TID 21, $17.5 million into TID 21 to fund this project, and that is currently what's budgeted in there. What you'll see is there's an estimate of total cost of about 26 million, just under 27 million. In kind of going through and looking at everything, we added one of the extra buildings in the restaurant that's kind of being referenced by multiple folks tonight. That building is actually the reason for that was there was a lot of feedback from the public on they would like to have a food amenity, and that was probably one of the top feedback items that we got from the marina groups was they'd like to see food available for the marina. So that was what was designed in on potentially satisfying both the folks at the beach and the folks at the marina, having some options there, and then ultimately maximizing the public space that would be available for the public to use. So that was a rentable space on the second floor of that building that was designed. I believe it was building 12 on the map. So we added that in because we've talked to a few different local businesses that would be interested in partnering with the city. So the intent would be that would be more of a like revenue bond as opposed to anything in the TID. So that would be funded and financed separately, independent of the rest of the project. So the project, when you take that out, then the project's back within the current budget estimate. I believe Smith Group projected all the buildings would be built at about $750 a square foot, which is exceptionally high. So we're looking at that 17.5 as worst case scenario, and expect that it will come down dramatically as we work our way through design. But every worst case scenario is kind of built into that right now. We anticipate, and one of the things that's very critical in this schedule is the grant application process. There's federal grants, state grants, and some private grants that we'll be going after as a part of all of this to help fund all of this to make it possible. So I think at worst case scenario, we have to rely on the TIF, but we're not relying on local taxpayers. And that was our goal going into this, was to be able to redo the marina, do this project, and not make it a burden on the local taxpayers. And then as we're successful in applying for grants, that reduces that burden less and less each time. So we put the RFP out kind of with those parameters. We had 4 bidders that submitted bids. We had a committee of 10 staff that went through, reviewed independently, rated them, and the top 3 were moved forward for interviews. We conducted interviews over a day or two. And once we got done, I think we had like 2 follow-up questions for Edgewater and one other firm. We followed up with them, got their feedback, and then independently, we took a poll of who the number 1 pick was for each person. Edgewater was unanimous. All members of the committee voted with Edgewater. I'd say the biggest they all had, really good aspects to their plans, but the biggest aspect that Edgewater had that stuck out for me and a lot of the committee members when we had a discussion was, they're the only ones that actually addressed the real issue that we continuously see at the marina, and that's ice. Everybody else talks about wave attenuation and kind of neglects that going into the winter season, and they really focused on addressing ice, not just through wave action, but throughout the whole design process. And that's, what's really cost us millions of dollars over the years. So definitely a departure from what we've done over the past several years. Thanks.
Alder Boris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of questions, and I think these are probably primarily for Administrator Bradley, but in terms of the committee that you had stated, the 10 members of the committee, those were all city staff. Were there any third party or any community members or other folks who were part of that committee?
No, this was all city staff, and then we reviewed the recommendation with the chair and former chair of the Marina Parks and Forestry Committee.
The former chair?
Yes, Mike Froh. He was a longtime member of he was the former chair of the Marina Parks and Forestry and a member of the boating group. So getting his input, he's actually the chair for the Visit Sheboygan, and they had actually worked with Edgewater on the economic study earlier this year. So we wanted to get his input and feedback on how it was working with them from their perspective.
Okay, one other question, Chair.
Sure, go ahead.
So the market feasibility study that you had just mentioned, that is not something that's been provided to this committee. Is there any reason that hasn't been provided to this committee?
Correct. That is not a city document. The city did not participate in that. That was done by Visit Sheboygan. They shared the results with city officials, but it's not one of our documents.
But it's pertinent to the decision to move forward because Edgewater was involved in that?
Edgewater conducted that.
So it's proprietary information that can't be shared with the committee or with council?
No, if you would like to have that, we can have that. We can request a copy from Visit Sheboygan.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody on the committee as well as council would benefit from being able to evaluate that information independently. I think it's critical for our ability to make a sound decision and to move forward with all the facts. So I would appreciate it if we could be provided with a copy of that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the committee at all? Alder Bellinger.
If nobody else is going to say anything, I have been a longtime member of the Public Works Committee going back from 2012 to 2018. And I do recall March of, I believe it was 16 or 17, maybe it was April, there was an emergency meeting of the council where we had to come up with $800,000 to quickly address the piers, the docks that were crumbled due to ice. And there was a threat of if we didn't act in an expedient manner, we wouldn't have docks for the upcoming boating season because of the lead time it would take to get them built, custom built. So in the past, in my opinion, the marina has been mismanaged by third-party vendors, and the oversight from the city, quite frankly, was lacking as well. It was made known in the Marina Parks and Forestry Committee prior to this meeting this evening that this year is the first year that the marina is showing a profit. And I would like to congratulate Nick on the great job that he's been doing with the marina so far this year. I've had numerous interactions with him, and he's been nothing but outstanding in my dealings with him, and I hear that from boaters and people that he interacts with regularly as well. So the way I see things is that we can approve this, or we can limp along and keep doing what we've been doing, which obviously doesn't make anybody happy and doesn't solve any issues, or we can get rid of the marina, and I don't think that's in the best interest of the community either. So I think everybody would agree that the lakefront in the marina is one of the greatest assets that we have as a community. And it's tremendous, the amount of pride that it has for the community. And I think if we take care of it, invest in it, put, some, things that, structures and designs that we can be proud of and kind of make a statement, I think that is important for the city of Sheboygan. We've got another piece of the puzzle would be the pedestrian bridge that's being designed right now as well. That's going to link both sides of the river. So I think this would kind of go hand in hand and kind of really set Sheboygan apart from other communities on the lake. And, I fully support this, and, I look forward to it. I am aware of the significant financial impact that it has, but I do not think that we have a greater asset in the city that we need to invest in than the lakefront.
Alder Borse.
Thank you, Chair. I agree that I think the marina is something that makes Sheboygan special and could make it even more special if it was under the right management, with the right development, at the right time, et cetera. My concern at this point in time is the expediency which this matter is being addressed with. I am concerned about the fact that, and I can only speak for myself personally, I'm concerned about the fact that I only knew that this was an agenda item as of last Friday, that the overall proposal document was not made available to the committee any sooner. It was actually part of the Marina Parks and Forestry agenda items, but it was actually not part of our agenda items as part of this meeting. So at this point in time, I'd like to make a motion to postpone the matter until our next committee meeting on October 27th, which would allow us the time to review the marketing analysis and formulate any additional questions that we might have about the plan.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion fails by no second. Alder Rust.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to echo Alder Bellinger's comments from earlier, and I would like to applaud Nick. He's done a great job with the marina. I do agree that this is a jewel. When I first was elected in 2022, I was very much opposed to the idea of a new marina. I was opposed to any marina at all with its inability to make money. But after discussions with city staff and with people that are involved with it, I think we can create a marina not to the scale that we currently have. I think it's too large for a city of our size. And I think we can't just go all in on this. I think that this is something that we're going to have to do in bits and pieces. This isn't a all or nothing kind of thing. And as things come to us, we have to be ready to move with it. Everything changes as far as pricing, as far as ability to do it, and the size of our city at the time. And this has been going on since I was last elected in 24. So this has been going on for quite a while. And I remember the large meetings that took place when it initially came out. And I think that the city has a real opportunity this time to create a great space for our community.
Thank you, Alder Rust. I couldn't agree more with all the statements that Alder Bellinger's and Alder Rust's on these. I think that Nick has done a great job down there. I think that the marina is a jewel. It's part of our identity now. You know, it's been there for 30 years now. That's not in our scope of things. It's not huge, but it's still, it's part of it. It is part of our identity, and it's part of what goes on. And I agree with Alder Bellinger that it's part of this whole lakefront opportunity, with the bridge and everything else like that, tying in the north and south pier. All these things are all going to be part of it, and I think that we have to move forward with some of these things. Like I said before, the concept that the Smith Group put out was, I think there were some things in there that just aren't going to be. They don't fit Sheboygan, and I think as Edgewater goes through this process, I think that those things will be weeded out and taken care of, and I think that they will, you know, I think they will be listening to the community and listening to the city staff and things like that, and the boaters that work there, or that use the facility. So I'm hoping that we can move forward from this and start this process. This is step one, or actually this is step two out of probably about 10 steps. So I guess that's the best way to describe this. Alder Borst.
Just one final statement. I don't know why anybody on this committee would not want access to all the facts and information that should be considered before we make a decision and vote. So that's all I'm looking for with the motion that I had made. Disappointed to see that we can't discuss that further. But thank you, Chair.
Okay. I also have first. Casey's got something, and then
I was just going to say something to Alder Borst. I think that city staff could provide all those documents to the council prior to the council meeting on Monday.
Yes, just wanted to add, so it's looking like fuel sales are going to be the highest we've ever had on record for the marina this year, and you know that's a lot of Nick's hard work. And we also, for the first time in, I don't know, several decades, we have a cruise line that is scheduling 4 dates for next year that they'll be visiting and spending, 27 hours each time in the city of Sheboygan at our port. So despite, you know, some of the negative things and the process of change that we're going through, we got a lot of really positive things going on with the marina. We've focused on trying to improve services down there and improve the amenities. They're different, you know, and that's what we kind of talked about when we did the marina study, but, you know, how do we enhance the utilization of the marina for both boaters and for the public? So this is definitely addressing the boater side, but this also benefits all of our local businesses. You know, we had talked with Edgewater looking at getting even bigger boats in, and you know, some of the cold calling and stuff that we've done over the last year was successful, and we were able to get one of the cruise lines in next year before we even get into the project. So the desire would then to be, you know, obviously seeing more and more of the cruise ships come in over the years, but definitely a huge start and a big change for the marina.
Thank you, Administrator Bradley. All righty, I guess any other comments? Motion made by Bellinger, seconded by Rust. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Chair votes aye. That is approved 4-1. Okay, let's get back to the agenda. Okay, next regular meeting date is October 27th, 2025. I would be looking for a motion to adjourn. Let's see. Okay. Alder Bellinger made the motion. Alder Menzer seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.